is Mark Gunn Media.
Hit it!
Welcome to GunnShots, straight from the hip. I'm your host, Mark Gunn. The views expressed on this program are those of the host and guests and not necessarily reflective of anyone or any entity associated with this broadcast. This episode is brought to you by the Centers for Disease Control.
The best way to protect yourself from 2019 novel coronavirus is to avoid being exposed to the virus. Additionally, there are preventative actions that you can take to protect yourself and your family from the spread of respiratory viruses that can make you sick. These include stay home if you're sick, cover your cough, and wash your hands.
For more information, visit coronavirus.gov. That's coronavirus.gov. This episode, the Mark Gunn Media Back to School Special, The Digital Divide and You. Typically, when we talk about the digital divide, we're talking about the disparities between blacks and whites when it comes to internet access. While blacks are overrepresented on social media, we're underrepresented in terms of overall access to the internet. Now, this is a topic for another episode. What I'm talking about here is an unintended consequence of the Trump administration's failure to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic. Working and schooling from home is the new reality for a lot of Americans, and because of that, there's another level of stress for you and your internet service provider.
As the COVID-19 pandemic stretches on, more are staying at home not just to work, but also to consume various video services from Netflix to YouTube. And because of this, internet traffic has gone up noticeably.
The challenges that we are seeing for our customers working from home is the fact that you've got both enterprise traffic as well as consumer traffic originating from these home networks. And how do we prioritize which traffic takes priority? Because everybody is now at home and everybody's trying to do the right thing by staying at home, so they're consuming a lot more data, a lot more internet.
Look, I get it. My wife and I both work from home, and reliable internet is more important than ever. But here's where the digital divide I'm talking about comes into play. Everything I'm about to tell you is first-hand knowledge because in addition to running my company, Mark Gunn Media, Inc., I'm also an IT professional. There are realities that you may not be aware of, and they pertain to every internet service provider in the country. When the pandemic hit and businesses were implementing their plans to keep you safe, internet activity increased on an exponential level. More people online at the same time at levels never before seen in the industry. Because of that increase, the level of performance issues went up as well. Think about how many issues you've had with your internet over the last few months, if you've had any. Couple that with your ISP screening their employees for COVID-19 and having protocols in place for those positive cases. Contingency plans to make sure there's enough staff to cover the needs of any given community. That's everyone from the technicians in the field to the technicians you deal with whenever you call your service provider. I say all of that to say this. Just as we're dealing with this new normal, there needs to be a new normal in the relationship between your ISP and you. Here are a few things you need to understand. 1. The technician you speak with when you call understands that you're stressed and how important having your internet service is. They are customers too and know exactly what you're going through. 2. Your technician is a trained professional and has access to information about your equipment that you simply do not. You want to know why you've lost your connection, and they are equipped to give you the answer, and in most cases, come to a positive resolution. 3. The relationship between the technician and you is a codependent one. You are the most important part of the process, and problems cannot be solved without your help. Try to be as straight to the point as possible when asked about what your problem is. I know you may want to give a full background story, but it's really not necessary. 4. Your time is valuable, and your technician is going to be as straightforward as possible in their approach. They will ask questions designed to get to the very heart of the matter. You help yourself by answering these questions as clearly as possible. 5. Technicians are people too. They realize that some people are already angry when they call and that they will yell and get abusive in some cases.
All right, I'm trying to stream right now on the internet. It's my job. I'm trying to play video games. Playing video games is my job. I'm a big guy on the internet, okay? I'm a big deal. I got 3,000 people waiting for me to stream right now, and I can't do it because you guys can't get me online.
While your technician is trained to remain focused on the problem, there are those that will react in ways that you don't expect. Remember, they are as stressed out as you are, if not more so because of the higher call volumes and back-to-back calls. An average of 50 calls in an 8-hour workday. While the majority of interactions are pleasant, there are those that can test your technician's patience. Here's what you have to remember. If a technician has to focus on you yelling at him or her, that takes away from the focus they need to fix your problem. Ask yourself, do you want to spend your limited time ranting and raving, or do you want your issue fixed? Number 6. Longer than usual wait times are the new reality for now. Doesn't matter which ISP you're with. Wait times are averaging anywhere from 45 minutes to over an hour. Get used to it and plan accordingly. If your provider offers a callback option, use it. No one wants to be held hostage by their phone, and your technicians are working as hard and as fast as they can to get to the next customer. 7. One of the other unintended consequences of the pandemic is the increased amount of on-site service calls that are needed. In addition to screening field technicians for the coronavirus, your ISP should have safety protocols in place, including not going to homes with COVID-19 positive patients. Recent weather events on the East Coast and the Gulf Coast, not to mention the California wildfires, have added another level of stress. Because of that, there are going to be quite a few cases where service calls can be delayed by days, even weeks. This is not the fault of your internet service provider. Remember, they are under a great deal of pressure to make sure that your services are working properly. Coming up, there are some things that you can do in order to help keep your internet connection and to help the process along if you should happen to call for help. More after this.
104.7 WLOU, the original soul of Louisville.
Hi, this is Mark Gunn, Program Director of the new 104.7 WLOU, the original soul of Louisville. We're streaming online right now at WLOUFM.com. We've been hearing from quite a few of you regarding our mix of R&B and classic soul. And on behalf of the staff and management, thank you. But we'd like to hear from more of you. That's why we set up a special hotline that you can call to let us know exactly what you're thinking about WLOU. As a matter of fact, give it a call right now, 502-650-9325. That's 502-650-9325. Give us your name, where you're calling from, and tell us what you think of the original soul of Louisville. Meantime, thank you so much for spreading the love, and don't forget, you can catch us online right now at WLOUFM.com. The number again is 502-650-9325. That's 502-650-9325. We'd love to hear from you. Give us a call right now.
More variety of classic soul, R&B, blues, jazz, and gospel. The original soul of Louisville.
104.7 WLOU.
Right now, 1 in 5 eligible people in this country are not even registered to vote. And I know it's not because people don't care. We all care. The only way to make change in this country is to get out and vote for the change you're looking for. What if this year we actually did that? What if this year every eligible American decided to step up and be a voter? What can actually happen when we all vote? Imagine the kind of leaders we can elect.
Leaders who are committed to creating a better world for my girls.
When we all vote,
we have the power to shape the future.
My father was deported when I was 8 years old. If you can't vote, you should vote. Where we all vote, we translate our dreams into change.
Register to vote today, not tomorrow, not the next day, but today.
That means all of us.
When we all vote, that's how change happens in America. I love you all so much. Let's get it done.
Mark chapter 4, Jesus gives a wonderful illustration. Gives an illustration about how he calmed the storm. We have the storm of COVID-19, the storm of a pandemic. We have the storm of police brutality. We have the storm of injustice. We have the storm of gun violence. But one thing about it, Jesus, if you place your faith in him, and Jesus will get all of us to the other side. And one thing about getting to the other side, there's victory in Christ Jesus. So if Jesus calmed the storm on the sea, Jesus can calm the storm of any pandemic. Jesus can calm the storm storm of COVID-19. Jesus can calm the storm of police brutality. Jesus can calm the storm of racism. Jesus can calm the storm.
Let's take them to church. We've been praying, still going through our battles. The prophets want to lock us like a shackle. They don't want us breathing with our hands up. We took a stand in 6, we got our hands up. Please, Lord, come, we gon' ride. Standing on your promise, 12 quick and won't die. With God on the side, balance one fist up, BL them up real high. I'm still here, my face restored. I'm just trying to change my life so I can live for the Lord. It's okay, it's alright. They say God gives the toughest battles to the strong to fight. We will win. We will fight. We will win. We will fight. We will stand in the end. Yeah. We will fight. We will win. We will fight. We will stand in the end. I'm still here. My face restored. I'm just trying to change my life so I can live for the Lord. It's okay, it's alright. They say God gives the toughest battles to the strong to fight. We will win. All I got is this rock and this slingshot. I ask your life to get away before I sling shots. And I don't think you really want that, because the God I serve, him and his goons, they be all fat. And I ain't talking about guns and gats. I'm talking about how prayer and miracles react. 846, Floyd's last breath. Not to mention Brianna was shot to death. Dear Lord, I ask, yo, what can we do? Because the people are lost and we have no clue. We don't have to agree with all the riots, but one thing we can agree, too many silent. We got a plot, plan, strategize at the pole. Let our voices be heard so we can gain control. Plus there's too many families being shattered. I can't say it enough. Black Lives Matter. My face restored. I'm just trying to change my life so I can live for the Lord. It's okay, it's alright. They say God gives the toughest battles to the strong to fight. We will win. We'll win. We'll win.
911 operator has word of emergency. I don't know what happened. Somebody kicked in the door inside my girlfriend. Okay, how old is your girlfriend? She's 26. You said 26? Where was she shot at? I don't know. She's on the grill right now. I don't know. Is she alert and able to talk to you? No, breathe.
Breonna Taylor was a 26-year-old EMT serving on the front lines of the fight against COVID when she was shot at least 8 times inside her home during a drug raid in March. No drugs were found, and the 3 officers involved were placed on administrative leave. But so far, none have been charged.
For downloads of this and past episodes and information about all the multimedia services we offer, log on to our website at www.markgunmedia.com. That's markgunmedia.com. Welcome back to Gunshot Straight from the Hip. I'm Mark Gunn. Remember, you can download and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And if you listen to Apple Podcasts, do me a favor and leave us a review. That helps us to get even more exposure. This episode is the Mark Gunn Media Back to School Special, The Digital Divide and You. We're discussing the new normal for internet service and the nature of your relationship with your internet service provider. There are some things that you and your family can do in order to keep a good internet connection and speed up the process if you ever have to call in for help. 1. Learn about your equipment. You know, most Americans are lazy when it comes to technology. What I mean by that is, you buy something and you just want it to work. When it doesn't, your first instinct is to replace it. Internet doesn't necessarily work that way. Most Americans don't know the difference between a modem and a Wi-Fi router. Big mistake, especially when there's plenty of information available for you to learn from. Your modem is what brings the internet into your home. The easiest way to distinguish it from your router is the round cable that screws into the back, the coax cable. The router gets the internet signal from the modem and sends it out wirelessly. One of the best analogies I have for explaining the difference between the modem and router is a water hose and a sprinkler. The hose is the modem, the sprinkler is the router, and the water is the internet. Now, the water has to go through the hose in order to get to the sprinkler, right? Makes sense. So when you don't have internet, the majority of the time, there's a problem with the signal getting to your modem or your router, and not the equipment itself. So there's no need to replace it unless your ISP recommends it. 2. There is a procedure for attempting to restore your internet, and it can be done in about 3 minutes. The industry calls it power cycling. Simply unplug the power cords from your modem and your router. Wait 10 seconds, plug in the modem, but not the router. Best case scenario is that you get a normal lighting pattern from the modem. Once that happens, plug in your Wi-Fi router. Once the router fully resets, you should have internet. Now, there is an important distinction that I need to make here, and here's where a lot of people get confused. You can actually connect to your Wi-Fi and still not have internet. But you don't necessarily need Wi-Fi in order to have an internet connection. Now, there are other steps that you can take before calling your internet service provider. If you have a cell phone and can access YouTube, you can learn everything you need to know from there. 3. With your kids doing online schooling and you most likely working from home, your Wi-Fi connection becomes more important than ever. When you go online, you usually will see 2 versions of your internet network. There's a 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz version. Think of those as AM and FM radio signals. The 2G frequency is designed to give you area coverage, but the signal isn't as strong. Pretty much like an AM radio station. The 5G frequency gives you a stronger signal, but not as much coverage. Pretty much like an FM radio station. One of the more common issues that you're beginning to see is known as intermittency. That's when you suddenly lose your internet connection for a few seconds or a few minutes at a time. One of the reasons for that is competing Wi-Fi signals. You know how when you connect to your router on your phone or computer and you see a lot of other Wi-Fi networks? Those are the signals you're going up against. What happens with the majority of routers is a case of how they're actually set up. Let me explain. The best way to describe how your router works is to think of cars being stuck on a superhighway in the middle of rush hour. Each lane of traffic represents a channel that your Wi-Fi router uses. Normally, your router will automatically move from channel to channel in an attempt to lock onto the strongest signal. A good way to think of that is, going back to my rush hour analogy, is that annoying motorcycle rider that weaves in and out of traffic while you're going nowhere. Now imagine those channels changing literally hundreds of times a second, along with every other router in your area. You eventually will get crashes, which can cause a loss of your internet connection. Now, there are 2 ways to combat this, and your router's manufacturer can help you, or, once again, go to YouTube and search for changing channels on a router. The second way is to use a wired Ethernet connection from the back of your router to the device that you're using. I strongly recommend this for those of you working from home. Another rule of thumb is, when it comes to your devices, if you can put it in your pocket, connect it to the 2G. If you can watch it, work from it, play games on it, connect it to 5G. 4. You have ultimate control of your child's access to the internet. Most routers have parental controls that will allow you to dictate when and how long your kids have access.
Now we have the ability to set daily limits for our kid here. So I can say, for example, I only want the kid to be on the internet for 30 minutes a day on weekdays, and maybe we can be a little more lax on the weekends and give them an hour here. And we can also set up when bedtime is on school nights or on weekends. Here we've got the school night starting at 8 p.m. And if they hit that 8 p.m. mark, the device will not work again until it wakes up at 6 a.m. They could probably play an offline game or something like that, but they cannot use the internet. Anything that requires the internet will be locked out of that device.
Once again, your router's manufacturer can help you with those settings, or you can search on YouTube for Setting Parental Controls on a Router. This is a great way to make sure you've got plenty of human interaction in your household. Coming up, a message for your kids and some final thoughts on our new reality right after this.
On November 3rd, 86 out of 99 state legislative chambers are holding elections.
There are 70 million young eligible voters, the largest and most diverse generation in our country's history.
We have the power to shape our country and communities,
but we need all of us.
So picture this.
On November 3rd, we choose.
We choose who sits in 435 seats in the House of Representatives.
We choose 24 senators and 13 governors.
We choose the sheriffs, the DAs, and the judges, too.
With 70 million young eligible voters, we choose to align a vision too humane to be political.
And make the future prouder than it's ever been.
So when the alarm goes off on Tuesday, November 3rd, 2020, and you arrive at your polling site, to see freedom clocking 2-hour waits.
Vote anyway. When the machines stop working and your job starts calling because American democracy is running late again, vote anyway.
Your vote is bigger than the color of your state.
It is a revolution in motion.
The moment you took to the streets and to the screens to share your outrage,
you recommitted to our collective dream, which requires that you lift it out of hashtags and into D.C. and your communities.
Because remember, this is the same year that brought a pandemic which disproportionately killed Black and brown Americans and indigenous people.
The same 2020 that took the breath of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Nina Pop, and Dominique Fells.
So on November 3rd, 2020,
know that voter suppression will be present.
Vote anyway. You will be discouraged.
Vote anyway.
Tuesday will be imperfect.
Vote anyway.
When every headline is shouting democracy and duty in swing states,
you will be asked to believe in a dream that never came to fruition for every American. And despite your best reason,
you must uphold it. Because we can't vote a world into existence that we can't first imagine.
The American dream is ours for the making.
Come alive for ancestors who need you to finish their story.
A story that begs for atonement.
Cast your promise. Cast your promise. Cast your vote.
Cast your vote.
But vote.
For downloads of this and past episodes and information about all the multimedia services we offer, log on to our website at www.markgunmedia.com. That's markgunmedia.com. Welcome back to Gunshot Straight from the Hip. I'm Mark Gunn. Remember, you can download and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And if you are listening to Apple Podcasts, do me a favor, leave us a review because it helps us to get more exposure. One other reminder that the general election is coming up on November 3rd. And you've got until October 5th to make sure you're registered to vote and to check the status of your current voter registration. Remember, if you don't vote, you can't complain. This episode is the Mark Gunn Media Back to School Special, The Digital Divide and You. We're discussing the new normal for internet and the nature of your relationship with your internet service provider.
My name is Anna. Can I have your account or phone number, please?
My account is 45678911560. I just want to say that I thought you are quick internet. Why can't I access my internet today? I can't play my games.
This episode is the Mark Gunn Media Back to School Special, The Digital Divide and You. We're discussing the new normal for internet and the nature of your relationship with your internet service provider. Now, I want to talk to your kids for a second because they are your key to being able to navigate this new paradigm. By the way, you're allowed to listen as well. Here's the deal. More than likely, your parents and grandparents didn't grow up with technology like you did. I'm 59 years old, and I know I didn't either. However, I'm an anomaly because I've grown and used technology pretty much throughout my whole career. Now, your folks have not, and because of that, they're somewhat hesitant to learn. To be completely honest, in this new reality, they no longer have a choice. This is where you come in. Now, it's going to be up to you to teach them what they need to know. Now, when they have a problem, don't just fix it within a few seconds. Show them exactly what you did and how you did it. This is especially true of your grandparents. Now, they're being dragged kicking and screaming into a world that they could have never imagined, and keeping in mind that for a lot of them, the internet is the only way of keeping in touch with you. So in the days of social distancing, this takes on a whole new level of importance. So please, do your folks a solid and try not to be a jerk about it, okay? Now, for those of you without kids, or maybe they're grown and gone, there are free courses that you can take in order to learn the basics of navigating the internet. You've made the decision to embrace the technology. Now do yourself a favor and embrace the knowledge you need to use it effectively. When all is said and done, despite the technology, your internet service provider is in the people business. And as I said earlier, the majority of customers are easy to deal with. Others, not so much.
No, of course I reset the router, reset the modem. I reset the modem. Okay, you always blame that. And then you blame the router, so I bypass the router. It's plugged directly into the modem. Okay, so don't give me that crap.
Just remember, this is a team effort. And if you keep in mind that you're dealing with another human being, another person, you'll get the kind of service they'll be more than happy to provide. Listen, stay safe, stay sane, and we'll get together again next week. You've been listening to Gunshots straight from the hip. The views expressed are those of the host and guests and not reflective of any business entity or anyone associated with this broadcast. If you have any comments or want more information on how to be a sponsor, log on to our website at markgunmedia.com or call us at 502-407-0283. That's 502-407-0283. Thank you for listening.
Mark Gunn Media. No hype, no hoopla, just damn good work.